It is the summer of 1988. And I'm walking into a church in South Minneapolis with a Greek chorus of dread shrieking in my mind. I'm going to a voice workshop. Me, who can't get through 1 hour of a lesson with my local teacher without collapsing into sobs, who has a debilitating terror of singing alone in front of anyone for any reason. Why did I think this was a good idea? I open the door and I walk in. And then I meet the teachers, Shaul Ryan and Carol Mendelson, who are both from the Roy Hart Center, a group based in the south of France that is dedicated to opening the full expression of the human voice. I survive the first 2 hours of the workshop. And then the group splits in two, and we each get to go with one of the teachers to do some more intensive work, one-on-one. And I end up in Shaul Ryan's group. And I am really glad about that. I like him. He's this slender British fellow, playful, with a kind face and a velvety voice. And as my fellow pupils stand up one by one and do their voice work, my terror starts to give way to fascination. And then it's my turn. And Shaul guides me at the piano through what I can only describe as a kind of vocal safari. He starts by taking me down lower and lower and lower and lower than I'd ever gone before. And then we turn around and we start heading up the piano, and I know this is going to be a short journey because I have a low voice. And it ends somewhere around here, and what's beyond this note is nothing. Well, we blow right past that note. And my voice starts cracking and breaking and making what I would normally consider to be horrifying sounds. And when I'm about to shrivel with shame, Shaul says, interesting. And everything sounds so lovely with a British accent. And I think, well, yes, actually it is interesting. And we keep going, higher and higher and higher. And pretty soon, I'm not singing anymore. It's not singing, it's sound. And I'm full of sound. And I'm me, but I'm more than me. I'm also this raptor with a huge wingspan, screaming out into the fierce blue sky. And when it's over, my whole body is thrumming with energy. And I feel fiercely alive. And I know for certain that tiny, tight box I'd been living in as a person and a voice was never going to fit me again. I was hooked. Every year, Shaul and Carol came back. I was right there working with them again. And then in 1991, I got a grant to go to France and do a 10-day intensive at the Roy Hart Center. And as I went, my voice just kept opening and opening to more sound and more sound. No one had ever asked me for all I had. And I had so much, it never has ended, ever. And as my voice kept growing, it seems like it turned into a kind of navigational device that guided me through the rest of my life. It led me to be a voice coach to help other people find their voices, whatever that meant to them. To develop an approach to working with voices, and then write a book about it. Who saw that coming? It enticed me to write, perform, and record my own songs. It called me to the bedsides of the dying, to the stages of major conferences, and smack into the middle of an exploding movement of community singing. What a ride. In 2013, I started training people to do this full voice work I do. And now, there are 17 of them. Walking around the world. There's one right there. Stand up if you want to go. Stand up, full voice coaches. All right. I love what people are doing with this work. Things I could have never imagined. And if I start telling you about it, I will definitely run out of time. More and more, the work is growing. They're bringing their gifts to it. I'm learning so much. So to come around full circle in this story, remember that slender, playful British guy who first helped me open my voice back in the 80s? Just last weekend, Shaul, Ryan, and I did our 19th weekend voice workshop together. My beloved teacher of 30 years is now my friend and my colleague. So often I want to go back to that church door and whisper into that terrified young woman's ear and just say, "Oh, girlie, hang on. Hang on. No, actually, let go." It's going to be a great ride. And it has been. Now I want to talk about what it's been like to work with Tom McSteen these past 7 years. Tom, when you first approached me about voice coaching, it was so easy to say yes to you, even though I had never worked with anyone who had a stutter before. And part of the reason is, well, I mean, look at him, he's yummy. Who could resist? But I also knew that your voice had so many untapped gifts for you, especially if we set it free from those bloody words and just let it run unfettered in the wide open fields of sound. Over all these decades of coaching, I've noticed that when a voice has been particularly wounded or hindered or shut down, when that voice finally opens to fuller expression, there is a quality in that sound that is so deep and resonant and powerful that it becomes a healing not just for the person who's making it, but for anyone who is blessed to hear it. And I can't tell you how many of those times, those sounds, I have heard coming out or through you, Tom. They've been a blessing to me, and they're still humming in my bones. Now I lost my place. But I'll find my way back, I have faith. Oh, I know! I've loved watching your voice grow! It's been so fun. It's been such an honor to watch it open and open into more expression. And then it's been really fun to watch where it's pulling you in the world, right? Inviting you into being a full voice coach. Yes! And then an itinerant global peacemaker. Yeah? Yeah. And that it called you here today, to this room, to tell your story as an initiation, with courage and clarity and generosity. And then to start by singing! Who would have imagined that was even possible, right? Woo! Can't wait to see where you go from here. And now we are colleagues in this work of training full voice coaches and envisioning the future for the Full Voice Institute. I could not have asked for a better partner. You are a brilliant thinker, teacher, and coach. And I am not the only person in this room who knows that that's true. Right? I've learned so much from you and with you. I can't wait to see what we cook up for the 2020 Full Voice training and about the future of this institute. I have had a sad little story tucked in the pocket of my heart for many years that I needed to carry this work a full voice alone. And having you step up right beside me and travel so generously and joyfully has carried me so far into healing that story. I can now see a future where we are all carrying full voice together, and it keeps growing and learning us. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And now, I want to talk about your voice. Actually, I don't want to talk about your voice. I want to invite you on a little vocal safari of your own, using the 5 elements framework. That's the thing I developed and wrote the book about. So, in order to do this, I'm going to take you on a tour through the 5 elements of earth, fire, water, metal, and air. What's that? Oh, it's scratching? Oh, the Nautilus has to go. Thanks, Bethany. Whatever. 5 elements. 5 kinds of laughter. I'm going to invite you into 5 different characters, and we're going to laugh a little bit in each one of them. And that'll give you a sense of like the exaggerated version of each sound. And then I will demonstrate how that element sounds in everyday speech and remind you what it's good for. Okay? Now, I just want to tell you, there's postcards with the whole framework out there on the table. Just take one. You don't have to remember any of this. And also, this is an invitation, not a mandate. If you don't want to make these sounds, that is absolutely fine with me. But I would invite you to listen to each one and notice your response. There's great value in that as well. Okay? So we're going to start with the earth voice. And for this, we're going to laugh as Santa. Okay, just a tiny example of each one. So if I bring that back into my regular speech, I start talking down here in the earth voice. And if I want to tell you that I mean business, this is a good voice for that. Do you feel that? Woof! Now we're going to do fire, and for this we're going to do sort of a knee-slapping kind of guffaw laugh, something like ha 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 ha. Okay, that's a hard one to stop. Good, yeah, it also makes you cough, doesn't it? Yeah. So if I bring that fiery ha-ha-ha voice back into how I'm normally speaking, well, basically I'm going to be talking the way I just have been for 10 minutes because one of the things the fire voice is good for is public speaking. Duh. Yes. For being seen and heard and expressing your passion, right? Next, water. And for laughing, here we're going to laugh as Julia Child. Actual speaking voice, it ends up sounding a lot like Tom McSteen. It's gentler and warmer, and as Tom said, it's the voice of the heart. It's like an arm around the shoulder, and it's so good for saying things like, I'm so glad you came. I love you. Yeah? Tom's favorite. Metal. And for laughing here, you know who we're going to be. Down more into my regular speaking voice, then I don't need this microphone anymore. Right? So what metal is mostly good for is amplification. So if you are in a crowded restaurant, or you have a friend who really should get some hearing aids, metal, your friend. Finally, air. And what we'll do for air is we're going to laugh as our baby sounds. That's so great. What cute babies you are. So if I bring that little baby voice down more into like how I normally speak, as Tom said, the air voice is great for inspiring the imagination, for telling stories and saying, I have this great idea. You like my idea, don't you? I have an idea. Great idea, don't you? So there you have it. That's the mini tour of the 5 elements framework. Earth, fire, water, metal, air. I hope you enjoy exploring each of these sounds in your everyday conversations, and just notice how they might help you connect more effectively with other people in your life. Oh, that was fun. I never get tired of this. Friends, your voice has its own intelligence. Your voice has its own intelligence, and it is such a faithful friend. No matter how wounded or shut down it's been, it is open, ready, willing, and eager to come back into more full expression. And along the way, it may just scare the living daylights out of you. Right?
Right.
Yeah. But I just think fear is such a reasonable price to pay. Fear is such a reasonable price to pay for the gifts your voice will bring to your life. Embodiment, aliveness, connection, a fully expressed life. And as you've heard from both Tom's story and mine, gifts beyond anything you could ever imagine. Thank you.